to vaccinate or not to vaccinate, that is the question. November 4, 2013. Today we have been asked to discuss quite a controversial topic, vaccinations. The question so many parents have for us is whether or not to vaccinate their children. Certainly, each parent is driven by the desire to do what is best for their child, though there are many varying beliefs regarding how to achieve this. What seems to be the cause for so much confusion is the conflicting reports of the effects these vaccinations have had and are having on children and adults alike. Before we begin, it is important that you remember that we do not hold a judgment of good or bad, as we do not currently exist within duality. Therefore we are able to simply share with you what we have observed, so you may make the best decision that is right for you. We will first begin with a short explanation about why vaccinations were created and what purpose they were intended for. The first vaccinations were introduced at the turn of the century with the hopes of containing and limiting the devastating effects widespread diseases had caused in the past. Many diseases were spread through unsanitary conditions, contaminated drinking water, and poor health, of which the medical field has now become aware of. Scientists and the medical industry as a whole have progressed and changed in many ways since the first introduction of vaccinations to the public. They were marketed as a preventative cure for a wide range of diseases that had plagued the population for centuries. Though the wide variety of vaccinations now available were not available years ago, the medical and pharmaceutical industries have continued to create many variations through trial and error. Vaccinations are heavily encouraged beginning at the time of a child's birth. Parents, in their quest to ensure the health, safety, and well-being, have largely agreed with the medical industry's claims. However, in more recent years, parents have begun to question the effectiveness and safety of these vaccinations, worrying that they could be responsible for doing more harm than good. As with everything in your reality, this topic has two opposing views. There are those who adamantly believe that by introducing the body to a small dose of the disease and allowing the body to fight it off successfully, it creates an immunity to the disease which will lessen or even prevent the body from succumbing to the disease if ever it should come into contact with it later in life. There are others who adamantly believe that by introducing a healthy body to the contaminants that must be used in order to carry the disease into the body, as well as the disease itself, is harmful to the immune system and thereby weakening the one's healthy body, leaving it just as or even more susceptible to contracting the disease at a later time. Now that we have shared with you the two opposing views, we will now share our own perspective. In short, there is no power that can protect nor heal the body other than the power which created the body. Yet the question still remains, do vaccinations help the body to fight off future larger attacks? Our answer is yes and no. Let us further explain. In theory, your body is designed to and inevitably will come into contact with millions of tiny microbes, pollutants, and bacteria on a daily basis. In fact, all of you have come into contact with some of the most deadly diseases, and yet many of you have not been the least bit affected by the contact. The immune system is continually fighting off and removing these pollutants from your body with usually very little to no perceived effect. There are those who try to shelter their bodies from these microbes by trying to kill the microbes with harsh chemicals and shielding themselves from other sick people, though this is not where health or sickness comes from. In fact, by trying to isolate yourself from the germs of others and using harsh chemicals around your living spaces, you do more harm to your body than good. How so? Now, as we were saying, your bodies are designed to come into contact with millions of microbes that have the potential to cause illness. However, illness cannot occur in a body that is in a state of balance. The chemicals such as your harsh household cleaners, bleach, ammonia, and alcohol actually are far more harmful to you than the bacteria themselves. Your bodies are made to protect against illnesses. It is not designed to be subjected to harsh toxic chemicals on a regular basis. Your bodies are made up of the very same elements you are trying to kill within the microbes. This has the same toxic effect on your body as it does the microbes which you are trying to kill. The immune system is a very advanced design to ensure that balance is also sought. A child's immune system is first strengthened by its mother's milk, taking on all of the antibodies that the mother has stored in her own immune system. As the infant grows, it develops its own immunity to the environment it has been immersed in. The body builds its immunity naturally by breathing in and ingesting millions of various germs, yet when it is introduced artificially to a disease or illness, it does not penetrate the body in the same manner. Let us further explain. When a microbe, disease, germ or bacteria is naturally introduced to the body, it is either ingested, breathed or transmitted by bodily fluids. When a disease is introduced to the body artificially, it is carried through a liquid which is inserted into the muscle or skin by way of a needle. The vaccinations that are given at this time to your population do not only contain the disease itself, as there would be no way of delivering just the disease. Rather, it requires a liquid or solvent to carry and transport the disease through your body. Where the problem lies is in both the artificial introduction of the disease to the body as well as in the liquid or solvent used to transport the disease to the body. This is why we stated that our answer to your question regarding the effectiveness of vaccinations was yes and no. Yes, the body would be better equipped to fight the disease off at a later time if it were to come into contact with the disease in a natural way and the body was able to successfully fight it off. The immunity to antibodies would be stored in the immune system so that it was more difficult for the disease to take hold of the body again. However, when you introduce the body to any disease or illness artificially, it does not react in a natural way. Let us further explain. Your body actually has two lines of defense. The first line of defense are positioned in cells that are in your nose, lungs and mouth. They are able to detect foreign matter that has the ability to harm or disrupt your body. You actually come into contact with well-known diseases on a daily basis. They are in the air you breathe, yet your body's natural form of defense is regularly able to fight off these microbes with little to no physical effects. When your first line of defense is not strong enough to fight off the invasion, your body's actual immune system is immediately activated and begins multiplying your white blood cells to help fight off the illness. When your body is able to fight off an infection that it has naturally come into contact with, you are then immune to that particular strain of that virus for life. Now, when you are artificially introduced to a disease, you bypass the first line of defense, activating your body's full-scale immune attack against the invasion. Your body can and often will overreact to the disease because it has not already been weakened by your body's first line of attack. A vaccination can activate a temporary immunity to the disease, however it is not a permanent solution. Your medical field is aware of this, and this is why you are often encouraged to receive a booster or additional vaccination after receiving the first vaccination. This is also why those who have been vaccinated for a particular illness or disease can still contract the disease later in life when the body naturally comes into contact with it. Your researchers are just now starting to uncover the amount of people who have been both vaccinated for a particular illness and yet still contracted it years later, and we have just shared with you why that is. It was important for us to first explain how the body actually defends itself from illnesses on a physical level before we could then go into why vaccinations have been so harmful. Unfortunately, the effects of these vaccinations have not been well documented, nor have they been brought to the public's attention. There are certainly many children with little to no side effects from the vaccinations they have received. However, there were many more who have, which has not been reported by your media as of yet. Vaccinations do have the ability to provide temporary immunity from the disease. However, the vaccinations cannot simply be a shot of the disease alone. It must be carried in something in order to transport the disease through your body, as we said earlier. The substances that are being used to transport the disease are far more harmful than the disease itself. Your bodies are physically built to defend against microbes, bacteria and illnesses, however it is not designed to filter toxic levels of heavy metals. The heavy metals that are contained in these vaccinations are predominantly responsible for the damage that is done to the body that has caused lasting effects, not the disease itself. We realize this may be shocking for many of you to learn, as you have trusted your medical professionals to ensure that your children are being well taken care of. However, not all of the medical professionals know what is actually contained within the vaccinations. This is why we are sharing this with you at this time, so that you may now become aware, so that you may weigh the pros and cons and decide for yourself what is best for you and your children. We have shared our perspective of what we have witnessed in regards to the physical aspects of vaccinations, how they work, and how your body naturally responds. However, it is important not to forget about the spiritual perspective to this question. We will now share the reason why vaccines do not actually play a role in whether you will contract the disease later in life or not. Our reply is simple. Health cannot be obtained by prevention, it is created by intention. It does not serve you to fear illness. If you do not want to be sick, then focus on creating health. 100 people can be subjected to the very same disease, in the very same environment. They can be similar in age, weight, and height. They can be either vaccinated or not vaccinated, and yet some will contract the disease and some will not. Luck or chance is not responsible for your health. It is very important to remember that disease cannot remain in a body that is in a state of balance. Maintain balance in both your physical and spiritual body and you will not experience disease. We hope that we have served you in some way. In love and light, we are your angelic guides. Channeled by Taryn Creamy. angelicguides.wordpress.com